What I think exhausts people more than almost anything right now is not hard work, and it's not necessarily busy schedules either. I honestly think it's constant thinking. There's the constant should I, shouldn't I? What's the right thing to do? What if I make the wrong decision? What if there's a better option? People are carrying around 15 half made decisions all day long, at least. And the strange thing is, a lot of the people that I know and that I work with who struggle with this are actually really capable people. They are productive, they are thoughtful, they care a lot about their work and about the people around them. But they want to make good decisions. But I think modern life has made decision making feel ridiculously heavy and noisy and unattainable, because now there's a best way to do everything. There's a best business strategy, there's best parenting approach, there's the best way to invest your money, the best workout to lose belly fat, the best morning routine, the best productivity system. You can optimize literally everything right now. And eventually, your brain just gets exhausted from constantly evaluating everything. And this is something that just gets stripped away in professional sports. It's almost like it doesn't exist because there simply isn't time for endless decision. There isn't time to spend 3 days wondering whether you should change something. There isn't time to overanalyze every possible outcome. There isn't time to emotionally spiral every time something feels uncertain, because you have to make decisions quickly. You have to trust your preparation and you just have to move. I don't even mean move on, you just have to take action. And one of the things I noticed working in elite sport for as long as I have was that the people who performed consistently well weren't necessarily the most talented or the smartest people in the room. They were often the people who could just make decisions, commit to them, and then move forward without constantly reopening the same thoughts. And I mean that also not just from the athletes that I worked with, but the people who were working behind the scenes in sport. The people who can make a decision and move on were vastly more productive, and they performed better, and the end results were far better than the people who were procrastinating because they couldn't make decisions quickly and effectively enough. Because indecision drains you, and actually, you feel it physically after a while. You might sit there reopening the same thought over and over again. Should I do this? Should I wait? Should I change direction? What if this doesn't work? And meanwhile, your energy is disappearing the entire time. And that's one of the reasons decision fatigue is such a real thing psychologically. The more decisions your brain has to process, the worse your thinking becomes as the day goes on, which is why you might be like this. You can spend 45 minutes deciding whether to send one email. And by 4 p.m., your brain is just exhausted, your brain fried. And I think this is why so many people now feel constantly mentally on. They feel wired. It's hard to focus, it's hard to relax because nothing ever feels fully decided upon, because you can't ever just make a decision and trust it. There's always another option, there's another comparison, there's another Google search to make, there's another chat GPT question to ask, there's another opinion, there's another strategy, another better way, there's another expert on a podcast. And weirdly, having more information, especially if it's not the right information, often makes people slower, not clearer. And people often ask me to show them how to make decisions quickly using elite sport structure. Um, and honestly, a lot of it comes down to the fact that in sports, it's not that they necessarily feel more certain than everyone else. They have just learnt, goes back to the training and the habits and the reps, they've learnt that waiting for complete certainty is unrealistic, because in elite sport, certainty is rare. So you make a decision. Okay, you're on the pitch. Shall I offload? Shall I keep going? You decide to offload, someone intercepts the ball. You made the best decision you could with the information you had in that moment. You committed to it, you committed to the offload, and then you adjust if needed. Someone intercepted it. So then you have to go round and you have to tackle them, or you have to chase the ball. But you just have to make that decision. You have to adapt to it. So you're not even saying I've made a mistake or I made a decision and it's the wrong one. You've just made a decision. It didn't go in the direction you wanted to go in, so you have to adapt to pull it back. It is just data. You are literally collecting data. Okay, I might not do it that way next time. And honestly, I think everyday life needs a bit more of that now, because most people don't need more information. They just need less hesitation. They need someone to tell them it's okay to trust yourself. It's okay to just make that decision on your own. And also in elite sports, you learn very quickly that hesitation splits focus. The moment somebody half commits, performance drops. If you do hesitate in that moment, so let's go back to the offload. If the player is then like, oh, I'm not really sure what to do, the chances are that is the wrong decision. It's the same with pulling out on a road. What's the saying in the UK? Hesitation kills. I'm sure it's the same across the world. There is nothing positive about endlessly hesitating before making a decision. So people in everyday life make a decision, or they might make a decision, but then mentally spend the next week arguing with themselves about whether this was the right one. And that is exhausting, right? At some point, you just have to trust yourself enough to move on. And I don't mean in a reckless way or in a careless fashion, but decisively enough that your brain can stop carrying the weight of constant unfinished thinking. And one thing that I've genuinely seen over and over again is this. People often become dramatically more productive the moment they become more decisive. And then that feeds into confidence, not because they suddenly magically found an extra few hours in a day, but because they stopped leaking mental energy every which way. So if you take anything from this episode, let it be this. A huge amount of stress disappears the moment something becomes decided. And it doesn't have to be the guaranteed right outcome, and it doesn't have to be the perfect decision. It just has to be a decision. So trust yourself to do it, adapt if it doesn't go in the way that you hoped it would, and you never know, it might just work out perfectly after all.